A long line of Coloradans stretches across the metro area, a salute to the officer who gave his life trying to stop the shooter in Boulder.
Officer Talley and these other folks represent the best of Colorado.
The deaths in Colorado renew old calls in a city not known for listening. The invisible injuries of survivors will last for a lifetime. We look at the help available and how we, together, tonight, can support them. And some thoughts on our familiar rituals of public grief. Are they comforting or infuriating? Perhaps both. That is next. Eric Talley did not become a police officer by accident. He chose service later in life as a way that he could care for his community. The first Boulder police officer on the scene of the grocery store shooting Monday was one of the 10 Coloradans killed there. Today, Talley's community and neighboring communities lined the streets as his body was taken from Boulder to a funeral home in Aurora.
The sun's coming out just now, isn't it?
I think a lot about the families and the people whose lives were lost.
I especially feel so horrible for the police officer who ran in there to save other people's lives, and he ended up paying with his own life. All of these people, all of these victims have hopes and dreams and families and people they love and people who love them, and they're just gone now. We're all hurting, and I wish there were more that I could do than just to stand out here and take off my hat as the hearse progresses down the street.
And it really impressed on me the bravery of the people involved. And again, we're here to protect us. It could have been any one of us. It shouldn't have been anyone, but it happened. And I mean, I'm just amazed. I'm in awe of that man.
All I could think about was people I know and love and care about had been in that store 1,000 times. I've been in that store 1,000 times.
You know, I want his family and his loved ones to know that the community cares and respects what he did to save lives and to serve, you know, our area.
I don't know what the answers are, but I wanted to pay my respect to the officer, to the other people who were lost, be a part of the community, just have a feeling, let some of it out. I just don't want to ever have to live through this again.
Officer Talley was a father of 7 children, joined the Boulder police force in 2010. His father told us that his son had hoped to become a police drone operator. He thought that would be a safer way to serve his community. None of the survivors of Monday's shooting was shot. That does not mean, though, that no one who got out was uninjured. The mental trauma of what happened will linger, even for some who were not directly there at the grocery store. Our Steve Steger explores what we know about the invisible injuries that Coloradans will have for a lifetime.
It's not something that just goes away or is okay because you physically survived a traumatic event.
It is easy to find a sense of comfort hearing that while 10 lives were tragically lost, no one else was physically wounded in Monday's shooting. It doesn't make this any easier, though.
We often refer to them as people with invisible wounds.
Psychologist Dr. Cheryl Ziegler says the trauma of being in the store, of hearing the gunshots, of witnessing the loss, all of that will be harmful to the survivor's mental health.
There's also comes the point of where you have that survivor's grief and guilt. Why am I physically okay?
And it's not just those who actually witnessed this. Ziegler says anyone in the proximity of the store that day might experience some trauma.
There really were probably sort of countless victims that we will never fully know, but the impact is typically considered lifelong to some kind of event like this.
And anyone impacted will need support in the long term.
You want to check in with people immediately, and you want to keep checking in on them, because what happens is, unfortunately, life does go on and time moves on, and people then stop asking for different reasons. What we tend to do is shy away from really difficult conversations. And what the research has shown over and over again is that people actually do better when you ask them about things that are hard.
For Next, I'm Steve Steger.
The weapon used in Boulder on Monday was a pistol specifically designed to operate more like a rifle, but without the restrictions imposed by law in various places. Our Marshall Zellinger spoke with a former federal agent about what we should know about that weapon beyond just what it looks like.
According to the arrest affidavit, the shooter bought a Ruger AR-556 pistol 1 week ago. This is what they generally look like. As long as the barrel of the gun is shorter than 12 inches, by definition, it's a handgun, no different than a standard issued police weapon.
And this is where we get to the whole thing of this gun is more dangerous than this gun.
John Reisenhoover is a former special agent with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. You know them as ATF. We talked about the distinctions between an AR-556 pistol and an AR-556 rifle. The difference? A longer barrel.
I'm always really clear, very small percentage of firearms are ever used in crimes. I'm not saying we shouldn't do things. I'm not saying we shouldn't, I'm not trying to make a judgment on any gun laws or anything, but I'm just saying the majority of people who are out there buying this stuff aren't going to ever do shenanigans with it. Everything I focused on was how to identify repeat shooters, usually young men who are being stupid, and identify them, get in front of them beforehand. I think that should be the focus of ATF more than anything else.
2 weeks ago, a Boulder judge struck down a 2018 city ban on large capacity magazines that hold 10 or more rounds. Colorado's law is 15 or more rounds. The Boulder law also was to ban certain weapons. That 5.56 appears to fit the definition of what would not have been allowed to be possessed, sold, or transferred in the city, Kyle. But as we've learned with certain laws in the books, that's more after the fact, possessing it in Boulder, if it fit that definition, if the judge hadn't struck it down, could have meant another charge. It didn't necessarily mean someone from outside the city would suddenly stop at the city limits and not bring it into Boulder.
I mean, possession, that's an after the fact thing. It's the point of sale where a law like that, had it been upheld and enforced, might have made a difference. But we also don't know, investigators have not confirmed where the shooting suspect purchased the weapon. It's quite possible that was nowhere near Boulder.
And I'm still curious, where it was purchased, how it was purchased. As you know, we did the investigation into the statewide large capacity magazine ban, and we found in stores locally, and you can buy it online, the rounds or the magazines with 15 or more rounds. So there are clearly ways to get around things that are on the books right now, but it's going to be important to find out when and where these were purchased and if they were within the laws of where he was at the time anyways.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully it goes without saying that most folks know that most guns that are used in an act of violence are used in a suicide. Marshall, thank you. Colorado's history teaches us that the victims' families and others impacted in the community are going to need both short-term assistance as well as long-term help. Fortunately, there is a way that we can help now. We began your Word of Thanks micro-giving campaign earlier this week because there were so many of you asking how you can help now. The Boulder County Crisis Fund is set up both for immediate needs and long-term challenges. It's run by Community Foundation Boulder County, which has a decades-long track record in Boulder, so we can count on them being there for the long haul. First and foremost, though, they're prepared to meet the immediate financial needs of the victims' families. This is an opportunity for all of us to do a little something that together we know can make a big impact. Since just last night, Next viewers have given more than $100,000 to get this fund started. We can all agree that the last thing that grieving families should worry about is finances. And we also want to provide that foundation for the long-term support that we know the Boulder community will need. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to donate. You can find it anywhere that you find Next online. When a need arises in Colorado, this community, the Next community, has come through time and time again in the last year. Thank you. Too many Coloradans are experts on the grief caused by mass shootings. At least we can tap into that knowledge.
You take your time through this. This is going to be with you forever.
And debunking an elected official's claim about what really happened after Colorado passed new gun control laws. Next. The president wants the mass shooting in Boulder to be the catalyst for a return to a ban on so-called assault weapons, as well as stricter background checks nationwide, like the ones that we already have in Colorado. Even if a majority in Congress supports those ideas, Democrats, Republicans in the minority in the Senate can use the filibuster to block gun control. Democratic Senator Michael Bennet made an emotional appeal to his colleagues this afternoon.
We have endured too many tragedies as a state. So many other states are the same here. The shootings at Columbine High School happened right before my oldest daughter was born, Caroline Bennett. She's 21 years old. And her entire generation has grown up in the shadow of gun violence.
There are some centrist Democrats in the Senate that have expressed support for some new gun restrictions, perhaps not what House Democrats have already passed. But even with their support in the Senate, that's still short of 60 votes to end a filibuster. Right now, Democrats are under pressure from progressives to get rid of the filibuster altogether. Colorado's Republican Congresswoman Lauren Boebert, who has built her career on her love of guns and defense of the Second Amendment, made a false claim today, attempting to prove that Colorado's gun control laws don't work. Boebert said that after Colorado passed universal background checks and a magazine size limit, that violent crime went up in Colorado while it went down nationally. According to the FBI, which tracks violent crime statistics, violent crime did increase in Colorado from 2013 to 2017. But it also increased nationwide in the same time frame. We should note that by the FBI's definition, not all violent crime involves guns. We asked Boebert's office to back up the claim that violent crime fell nationwide at the same time it increased in Colorado. We did not hear back from Boebert's office. Guns were also the reason that Tom Sullivan got into Colorado politics. His son Alex was killed in the Aurora Theater shooting. Now, a state representative from Aurora, Sullivan has made gun control the cause of his political career. He was called upon today for another area in which he has unwanted expertise.
This is going to be a long process, and one of the important things, right now is to make sure that you surround yourself with the people that you love and people that you can trust, because there's a lot of disinformation out there. There's a lot of well-intended people that might, not be intending, the right things for you. So it's you take your time through this. This is going to be with you forever. You're going to be a grieving parent, a grieving brother or sister for the rest of your lives. You need to take care of yourself, and, your immediate family will still be out here ready to talk to you, ready to help, ready to offer advice when you're ready to come out.
Sullivan's the guy you'll often see wearing his son's black leather jacket in remembrance of Alex. He said that his colleagues at the state capitol who disagree with him on gun legislation generally try to ignore talking to him about it. Standing in front of the memorial in Boulder last night, I could not decide whether it was comforting or infuriating. Not sure we need to choose. Thousands of people streaming to that spot to stand alone and silent in the crowd or to fall into the arms of somebody else, that really did show the power of a community that refuses to be divided by violence. And yet it was infuriating to see the rituals of public grief repeated again in Colorado. A different town's name before the word strong, different Coloradans' names with the same promise to remember them. The dogs were there. The golden retrievers that we have to keep bringing to the places to comfort our neighbors in the spots where people kill people with guns. The crosses were there. The crosses made by that nonprofit in Illinois, founded by the man who brought the first set of them westward 22 years ago after Columbine. The crossmaker passed away last year after decades of cross-making and cross-taking to grieving towns across this country. He is gone. But Americans keep killing each other with guns, so the crosses keep coming. In Boulder, people knelt beside them and they touched them. It was comforting. and it was infuriating.
Skies are clearing over downtown Denver tonight after the second of 3 storms begin to exit the state. There's still additional snow showers over the southern mountains tonight and a third storm we're tracking for Friday. But all the advisories for travel and snow will cancel out this evening. Skies will clear along the Front Range. High clouds move in tomorrow afternoon, but we're going to see a nice break between storms with sunshine and temperatures in the 50s. So that will be a nice break. Tonight, partly cloudy and 30 degrees, calm and quiet. Tomorrow, sunshine, high clouds in the afternoon, a high of 50. We do have rain and snow showers, a cooler day on Friday, but look at the weekend. 50 Saturday, close to 64 Sunday, and almost 70 on Monday.
15.5% of our state's population has their shots. Sounds strange when I say it like that. 894,000 people. There are more than 500,000 people waiting on their second dose. So close. 20% of our state population cannot get the vaccine because they're too young. There's no FDA approval. 304 people are currently hospitalized in Colorado with COVID-19, and that hospitalization patient number is starting to creep down. 13 fewer patients than the day before, 41 fewer than this time last week. So let's hope that we are finally headed down after weeks of plateauing hospitalizations. We checked the positivity rate to see how the virus is spreading in the community. Yesterday, it was at a very manageable 3.4%. It's an improvement from the day before, and our weekly average has been hovering above 4% for the last few days. Back in a moment to discuss the beautiful generosity you all have shown the Boulder community this week. And I've been reading some of your thoughts. I'll share a few next. Word of Thanks got started a day early this week in response to your questions about how to help the families who lost loved ones in the mass shooting in Boulder. And you have already raised $100,000 and counting for the Boulder County Crisis Fund. If you text the word thanks to 303-871-1491, I'll send you that link to donate. I know there are a lot of fundraising efforts out there right now for Boulder. I felt comfortable giving to this one myself and felt comfortable asking you if you would do the same, because this nonprofit is set up to provide both immediate help to the victims' families and to be around for the long-term recovery and support that they'll need. Community Foundation Boulder County has a decades-long track record, and Colorado sadly knows that the Boulder community has a long path to healing ahead. Some of your thoughts tonight. Beth writes in to say, thank you for giving me the platform to help, if only financially. Beth, I did not give you any kind of platform. Word of Thanks is the force for good that you all have created. I just help out with organization every week. It's astonishing to see what you've done. Barry from Boulder has the big one. He says, I think the question to ask about these instances of mass violence is, what are we willing to give up to prevent another shooting? Let's finish tonight with a return to the 10 names that we have decided to commit to memory.